GM. GM. Monday, 12th of Feb, daily levels. Let's go. So, not a whole lot really to cover here. I'll do mostly a deeper dive in weekly outlook, should be coming up today. Bitcoin, so the dominance is rising up to a peak. I think this is going to make another move higher, and Bitcoin will have another run, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily so soon. You all know that I've been bullish all the way here, all the way up. Not bullish at the moment. I think it needs time. Said this yesterday. The momentum's gone. It's weak. It's not going to break out today, in my opinion, unless we get massive ETF flows, which we could. But a lot of this is just very simple. When you have a few trend days in a row, just like we did over here, we had 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 where it was up, grinding up. Then it went sideways for 8 or 9 days. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And I think most people are going to get themselves just slowly bled out to where it goes not straight up, because now everyone's positioned for it and everyone wants it to go up and everyone talked about how bullish it is and everyone bought a bunch of alts. When price pushes into resistance and doesn't break through it, it's just not a good sign. So I think probably a few times people will get stopped out as it goes just slightly lower, and then eventually it'll rip them. At this point, though, it might be after the end of the month, which is I think, or the end of, here we are, the options expiry, which is 23rd. So that's not this Friday, but the following Friday. I'll talk about that in weekly outlook as well. You know about the Deribit options expiry, and we have a call wall at 50k and one at 44, I think it is. But in really simple sense, just what I said yesterday in trading analysis stands true. I'm not bearish at all, high time frame bullish, but the first time of this entire trend that we moved from having a spot premium, which would be all these bottom bars gray, right? On every chart, the bottom bars were gray. And then we've moved now to them being in a spot discount, so a perp premium here, and then on Binance, it's even more visible now. And that's Binance, Bybit, OKX. Again, to me, it's really simple. Nothing bearish, but whenever something moves up this fast and like this, it can easily just go sideways for time as well as price, where it just goes down, sets a floor, people think that's the bottom, flushes them out again, they think that's the bottom, flushes them out again, and it's mostly frustrating them. People are going to long every dip, and they're going to be wrong. People who are long from anywhere up here, right, who longed late, are going to get tested, and eventually we'll chop around and fucking, make people give up, and then it'll go higher. That's my expectation. That's not me saying that's what's absolutely 100% going to happen. I'm sure you know this by now. I don't know what's going to happen 100%, but that's my expectation. And as for total 3, just comparing the alts to BTC, just from a price perspective, total 3 sliding off faster than Bitcoin, that's good. Bitcoin dominance rising, that's good. All of that is good. That's exactly what you want to see. Some nice pullbacks on alts today. So that some of the alts are pulling back deeper, which is good. You don't want to see the alts going too far into the lead or too far ahead. But the problem is, if BTC doesn't move soon, alts will just pump again. And again, like when I say the problem, that's obviously not a problem if you're in alts, but to me, it's not healthy for immediate continuation. If Bitcoin's going to go now, it should go when it has this momentum. And if that momentum gets lost at this point, it's just going to get choppy, right? It's going to get choppy. And everyone will say, that there's levels and I'll buy here and I'll buy there. There's no truly strong support until all the way back down at 44. And if this doesn't do like a shallower pullback and breakout, then don't forget it's not in a trend, right? It's in the low time frame. It impulsed higher, consolidate, impulsed higher, and if you go to like a 4 hour, that's a very clear 4 hour trend, right? Trended up, consolidate, trended up. But when you push up into resistance and you reject from that level, if you start to pull back, you're not trending here. This is all just like one massive range, right? And that means that price doesn't have to do the blue path pullback. Price could very easily come all the way back to 44, fill all that in, and just build a base again and go. That would be completely normal and would actually set up sort of a ascending triangle type of, this a very common and a very strong, like a great accumulation pattern. If it were to happen, where it comes all the way back, people get chopped up and there'll be just blood on the streets if this happened. Right? Everyone's going to get long here, and they're going to long here, and they're going to get into alts, and it's going to look like it's staying up. And they just get themselves absolutely decimated. And then price goes and breaks out, later on. Don't know. Absolutely not saying this is the path. This is just one to keep in mind that this can happen. For me, I think it depends a lot on the halving, right? When is the halving rally going to start? Is it like typically we rally into the halving, we top before the halving, we sell off just after the halving or around the halving, and then we form another local bottom and go again. But of course, as we go through the cycles, each halving will be different because people will look at the last one and say, oh, it always rallies into the halving, so I'm going to get long. So is that everybody pre-positioning for the halving? Have we overdone it? Is that it? Have we gone up too fast? We might just simply have gone up too fast, squeezed out some shorts, and just need to pull back. Or just need to consolidate. Or whatever. If I can say one thing that I'm very confident of is that time is the main thing here. It's going to take time. Unless we break out today or really tomorrow, right? So unless this week starts with some kind of trend, I would be pretty confident that we just chop around, we go sideways for way, way, way longer than people think. That might be a week, might be 2 weeks, but everybody currently is betting on breakouts have to come now. Breakouts, because this is how like the reflexive thinking goes. A week ago, nobody was bullish. Well, we were bullish, but like we're always bullish because you should be bullish in a bull market. But a week ago, people weren't risk on, right? They weren't aping into shit coins. They weren't leverage longs. They weren't looking at swing trades and all this kind of stuff. Because of these few days and because all coins have rallied off the lows, now people are like, bull market's back. And so I hope you can understand that the same reason people were super bearish down here and were completely wrong is the same reason why they're completely wrong to be filling longs on alts and chasing into shit right up here. It's just the highest probability is that we chop for a bit, flush people out, and then away we go. Maybe it's just a couple days of chop, right? Quick flush, and then away it goes. That would be probably my preferred path, right? That would mean it needs to form. I would like to see it stay up here for a few days, hold a nice tight range up at the highs, no breakout, false breakout if anything, deep flush that gets bought back, and then away we go. Could be. There's a whole bunch of different paths. The only path I'm not going to sit here and draw out is the breakout path to 50k, 55, 58. Because that's, to be honest, there's no edge in it, right? It's not smart to say, oh, we're going to 50k. Like, yeah, everyone thinks that, right? But there isn't a clear path. I would not get long here. There's nothing here that would make me want to get long. Where do you put your stop? You put your stop even there, where I've marked that double bottom, 47, you can easily just get wicked out. And people are like, oh, 50k next. I mean, yeah, but we're at 48. To go to 50, that doesn't, there's no good risk reward there. So you have to understand when you're too late. I closed my longs. I was long from this consolidation. close some at 44,444 for the meme, close the rest up here. Not because I'm bearish, not because I don't think we can go to 50, but because expected value is dynamic. Meaning, getting long here and then riding it up to here is, let's call it 5 or 10 hour, depending on your entry. I actually compounded it, had a really nice trade, quite a bit bigger than that. But in a simple sense, let's say you had 43, the stop loss at 42, and you're up to 48. That's 5 hour, yeah? To then keep holding that to go to 50, you're only gaining an extra 2 hour, but if it round trips all the way back down, you lose 5 hour. So the expected value of the trade changes as the trade develops. And that's why I don't see, to me, there's no point looking at 50k trades and break out this and break out that. I'm already long spot, fully long spot, as much as I have. All the spot I put in from 22, 23, it's all still in. I've got some new cash on the sidelines I'd like to buy if there's a correction, but fully allocated for what I had before. And that's why you can sit here and say, I don't care, right? It doesn't matter if it goes up or down or sideways. You have to differentiate that. There's areas and there's times, like down here when I got long and here when I got long. There's times where it's good to get long because you're on your own, essentially. You're not in a crowded trade. And there's times where it's not good to get long, which is here. Every single person is trying to catch the breakout that they missed. And I've seen this before. It usually leads to several days of sideways or even some downside or whatever. So just be mindful of that. No, I'm not calling for 44k or 40k or 30k. Not calling for any specific price. So don't ask me, please. I'm calling about time. Time is the big thing here. And if you don't understand that, try and understand the law of cause and effect. Right? When you have an impulsive trending move, the market must gather itself again, just like it did over here. It needs to build energy, whether it's going up or down. And every single time we try and push towards 49, more people are going to get long, and more are going to get long, and more are going to get long. And it's just going to dampen any possibility of a breakout. How does that get fixed? If we flush down and take out those people who got long too late, that might be able to give the fuel to then push higher. Then, final thing, there's a counter to this, which I'm well aware of. Everything I've just said is about trading. I'm also well aware that Bitcoin's price might just need to be a lot higher. This is really what I said last week. During the cycle, so I'll just show a previous cycle to show it, right? So, do you ever wonder how could Bitcoin's price go from 9k to 12k, back to 10k, and spend like 4 or 5 months there, and then all of a sudden just go to 20k? Just doubles in a few weeks. That's because it's mispriced. Meaning, there is so much demand, and at the time, there is some leveraged traders getting liquidated. There is some willing sellers, but over time, as you go, weeks and weeks and weeks go by, the number of willing sellers goes down. The leveraged traders get wrecked on this candle, and there's nothing left except demand. And it's like holding a beach ball underwater, right? It can hold and hold and hold for a bit, but when it goes, it doesn't just go to 13k and let's stay here. No, like Bitcoin reprices much, much higher because over the long term, the path, like we're saying 100k, right? And I don't even, that's not even remotely crazy to me. That's completely possible. And so, with everything I've said now, we can absolutely easily, just turn around and pump to 56k. Just easily in 4 or 5 days. Because if that was the same here, if we consolidated, then there was the big ETF launch, sell-off, people dumped, and now prices should not be at 40, and it should be at 60, because that's just where it's heading on its trend. Then the way it gets there is going to be quick. It's going to leave people behind, and it's not going to come back until some other later date, right? So that's something of note as well. Very important to note. Also, people calling for 30k doesn't make sense. Because if we got 30k, then we probably wouldn't get 100k. So it's okay if you think that, but if you think 100K is coming, then setting a floor here, like you see, come up, 30, push all the way up, 30, could only reach 69. If it's setting a floor here at 40, right, and then pushes up, and let's say it breaks up to all-time high, drops back to 50, and sets its floor like that, like an interim floor around 50, or even 40, that then sets up a higher base for it to actually push to new highs, which is something as well that I think is missed. 30K to me, doesn't make any sense. But I've said that for weeks. So GM, that's it. Just a bit of an overview. Weekly outlook, I'll deep dive later. GM.